and I'm from Green Planet Conservation Initiative. But I was formerly a teacher here. That was most of you know, most of you, that was like 10 years ago. So
he was once our teacher. Future generation, the former computer.
Yes. I'm a product of this school, you understand? So, now that's by the way. So, like I said, my name is Mr. Edward, and I'm from Green Planet Conservation Initiative. It's an NGO. What we basically do is that we go ahead to create awareness on climate change. Go around schools, creating awareness on climate change. How many of you have heard of climate change before? Climate change. Or you've not heard, but you also have geography here, right? Yes. Well, you must have, or you listen to news, you must have heard, you must have heard about climate change. But before I move on, I wouldn't want to waste so much of our time. So just keep your ears. Just make sure that you maintain silence and listen to whatever I'm going to say. There will be reward for someone who is able to grab all I have to say today. Are you following me? So maintain silence. You'll be able to get one of two things. So before I move on, I want to define some key concepts that will aid our understanding. I will start by defining weather. How many of you know weather? Weather. When we talk about weather, you've heard of weather before, right? You've heard of climate before? Okay, now what then is weather? Weather is actually weather. Okay, now weather is actually a short-term changes in the atmosphere. When I mean short-term changes in the atmosphere, there are some activities that occur in the atmosphere that takes a period of time, it takes a short length of time. And when that thing happens under a short period of time, it is assumed that that's the weather condition. Another definition says that weather is the atmospheric condition of a place or of a region. Do you understand? Over a period of time. Are you following? I hope you understand it. Just make sure you keep your ears to listen to whatever I'm going to say. Then are you able to get what weather is? I say weather is a short-term changes in the atmosphere. It can also be defined. There are different definitions. It can also be defined as a short-term atmospheric condition of a place. Do you understand? And I say short-term changes. What are these changes that we are talking about? There are changes that occur in the atmosphere, like the way the rain falls, the way the sun shines, the humidity of a place, the precipitation of a place, the atmospheric pressure of a place. All these are changes that could occur in the atmosphere. And once they occur in the atmosphere over a period of time, we will say that is the weather of that place. Are you following? Yes. Okay, now what then is climate? Now, climate is actually a long-time weather pattern of a place or of a region over a period of time, usually a minimum of 30 years. Are you with me? Are you with me? I say climate is a long-time weather pattern of a region over a period of time, and usually is a minimum of 30 years. So what that means is that if we come in this environment and there are some changes that occur in the atmosphere, let's say there's a particular weather pattern that has been maintained in this place, like maybe the way rain falls in this place, the way sun shines in this place, over a period of time, and usually minimum of 30 years, that thing becomes the climate of that place. Do you understand? Are you following? Are you understanding? So the difference between the two, the other one is a short-term atmospheric condition of the place, while the other one is a long-time weather pattern. Do you understand? It means that the weather has been consistent over a period of time. The weather condition has been consistent over a period of time. And minimum of 30 years. Now assume that's the climate of that environment. Are you getting the concept now? Now, what then is climate change? When we talk about climate change, we are talking about climate change, the long-term shift in weather pattern or in temperature of a place. Do you understand? Now, what that means is that there has been, when I mean long-time shift in weather pattern or in temperature, it means that there has been a consistent move or change from the normal way the weather should be to an abnormal way. Do you understand it? To an abnormal position. Are you following? Yes. So when I say a long-term shift in weather pattern or in temperature, it means that there has been consistent changes in weather pattern or in temperature from the normal to abnormal over a period of time. So it means that now the way the weather is in that place is no longer the normal place it should the normal way it should be. Are you getting it? Are you following? People are not responding. It means that you're not following. Are you following? Yes. Okay. So it means that there has been over time a consistent change in the weather pattern of a place. Then it now becomes climate change. It means that there has been a change from the normal condition to an abnormal condition. Do you understand now? Do you understand the concept? Okay, now what actually causes climate change? Now, climate change is actually an issue of importance all over the world. And a lot of governments, organizations, countries are actually concerned about this climate change because it's something that affects human beings. Do you understand? It's something that affects human beings and affects the planet as a whole. Now, some of these activities that causes climate change can actually be natural. So actually can be natural. But most of the changes or most of the things that cause the changes are actually as a result of human activities. Are you following? They're actually as a result of human activity. It means that what we do actually causes those changes. Are you following? Are you with me? Yes. So now, what are these things that we do, we human beings, what are these things that we do that actually cause these changes in the atmosphere? Now, one of the major causes of this climate change is the burning of fossil fuel. There's something we call fossil fuel. How many of you have heard of fossil fuel before? Okay, now, let me not bother you with a lot of questions. Fossil fuel are fuel that are gotten from, that are energies that are gotten from either coal or oil and gas. Do you understand? There are energy sources that are gotten from either coal. You know coal? You know coal? Okay, it's one of the mineral resources we get from the earth. Then the oil and gas is also, oil, when we talk about oil and gas, we're talking about crude oil. You know, from crude oil we get oil, we get gas, right? And when you refine crude oil, you get petrol, you get that's fuel, you get diesel, you get kerosene. You also get natural gas. So there are a lot of products that comes out from crude oil. So we call them oil and gas. Do you understand? So when we burn most of these things, the natural gas, the coal, they tend to produce emit gases into the atmosphere. And those gases that they release into the atmosphere, they are actually the things that cause the climate change. Now, one of the gases that causes the climate change is carbon dioxide. I know you have chemistry students here, right? Carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is one of the gases that cause. That's the primary gas that causes climate change. And we also have methane. We have methane. For chemistry students, they will understand better. It's also a gas that causes climate change. They will also have nitrous oxide. These are gases that are being released into the atmosphere that causes the changes. We also have fluorinated gases. Now these are gases, some of the gases we use in our refrigeration. You know the gas that your fridge use fluorinated gas. So these are gases that when they are released into the atmosphere, they tend to cause climate change. Now those gases, there's something we call those gases. We call them greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases. The gases that cause this climate change, we call them greenhouse gases. Now, what does this greenhouse gases, what does it mean? Greenhouse gases are gases that tend to trap the heat of the sun from escaping from the atmosphere. Are you following? Are you following? Yes. Or the terms are they too high for you? I said greenhouse gases are gases that tend to trap the heat from the sun from escaping out of the atmosphere. You know, the way the earth is designed, the sun is supposed to send its heat down to the earth, right? And as it sends the heat, some of those heat escape out of the atmosphere But now when the sun shines and that heat that is being generated from the sun is not able to escape out of the atmosphere, what happens? It causes what we call global warming. How many of you have heard of global warming? Okay, now global warming actually means that the earth is getting hotter than the normal temperature. Are you following? The atmosphere is actually getting getting hotter than the normal temperature. Meaning that the activities of the sun, the activities of the heat of the sun is hitting the earth, and because there's no way it could escape because of those greenhouse gases, it's making the earth to grow hotter than it should be. Are you following? So that's what greenhouse gases does. You understand? It causes global warming, heats the atmosphere more than necessary. So now, basically, I've told you now that those greenhouse gases comes from the use of oil and gas. When we drive our cars down, we use fuel, right? And when the fuel burns through a process of combustion, it releases gases into the atmosphere. Likewise, diesel, when big trucks also, when you drive them, they burn through a process of combustion and releases gases into the atmosphere. So those gases that are being released into the atmosphere, those are the gases that cause the climate change. They are the gases that constitute the greenhouse gases. And I've mentioned such gases. I've mentioned some of the gases majority of the gases that causes that climate change. So now, also now, there's another thing also. It has also been proven, climate scientists have also proven that the temperature of the earth has actually increased 1.1 degrees Celsius, higher than the normal temperature. Are you following? It means that the temperature has increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius, higher than the normal temperature than the original temperature. Now, causing the earth to become warmer than necessary. Do you understand? And these are as a result of those things that were actually explained earlier on. Are you following? Yes. Now, it's also been proven that since the advent of industrial revolution, you know what industrial revolution is? Okay, there were times when in the 18th century, when industries started springing up everywhere. When a lot of nations started going into production, into manufacturing, industry started coming into place. A lot of countries joined that, and that's what we call the industrial revolution, where a lot of countries joined in establishing industries and all that. So it has been proven that ever since the advent of industrial revolution, that the atmosphere became warmer ever since the advent. That's when the temperature actually became warmer. And it's also been proven that every decade, every 10 years, every 10 years, if you measure the temperature of the previous 10 years and measure the current one, you see that the current one will always be hotter than the previous one. Meaning that the thing is increasing day by day. Are you following? Year by year. Are you following? Are you with me? Yes. So it means that the temperature is increasing year by year. Like the highest that has been recorded was from 2011 to 2020. It's on record that that's when we had the warmest of that's when we had the highest warming of the atmosphere. From 2011 to 2020, the atmosphere became warmer than the previous one. So, what are the effects of this climate change? Now, the climate change, there are so many things that the climate change actually causes. One is that it actually causes what we call drought. In some places, it causes drought. In some places, it causes flooding. Now, you know what drought is? Scarcity of water. Are you with me? Yes. Scarcity of water. And in some places, it causes flooding. You know what flooding is also, right? Like in Nigeria, we've been experiencing flooding for some time now. Are you with me? We've been experiencing flooding for some time now. This is as a result of climate change. Now, it causes rise in the sea level. Meaning that when the temperature of the sea is heated, once the temperature of the sea is heated, the level of the sea rises above its normal level. And that's what even actually causes flooding. Because once it rises above its level, it tends to flow to the bank. You understand? Once there's rainfall, it tends to flow into the communities, into the environment. So that's one of the effects of climate change. It also causes food scarcity. Anytime there's flooding, if you listen to news very well, they will tell you that year there will be food scarcity. You know why? Because also when you farm and flood go to destroy your farmland, you'll be able to harvest what's planted, right? So now it also causes faster spread of disease. Now when the atmosphere is warmer, when it becomes hotter, diseases tend to travel faster, tend to spread faster. Are you with me? When the atmosphere is warmer or hotter, diseases tend to spread faster. And it actually affects more some of the people that are more vulnerable, like the elderly, the younger ones. You know, their immune system at that point is actually low. Are you following? So now it also causes there's a place in the earth here we call the polar region. The polar region. That polar region actually is made up of, that's where you go and see ice. If some of you that watch movies, you see there are some places on the sea where you see ice has covered everywhere. Those are the polar region. Now, as a result of the climate change, those regions, those ice are being melted as a result of climate change. And some of you might wonder, why do you let it melt now? It has nothing to, we have nothing to gain from it. But there's a way God has actually made this earth. Some places are supposed to be like that. You understand? And also there's another thing that happens when it tends to hit the sea. You know, there are aquatic animals, the animals that live in the sea, right? The sea has its own ecosystem. When this hotness actually affects the sea, it tends to kill whatever that is in the sea. The aquatic animals, whatever that lives in the sea, because of the temperature rise and all that. Are you following? So these are some of the causes of, and it also causes displacement, because when you have places, when you have things like flooding, you won't stay in your area. If your place is flooded, you will have to relocate to another place. Then in other developed Western nations, it causes so many serious issues. Like when you hear about hurricane, some of these things don't happen here, but it happens in the Western world. You hear of hurricane. Then sometimes you also hear of heat wave. All these are as a result of climate change. Now, how then do we come in? Now, we as an organization, like I said we go around to create awareness around on climate change. And we do that by encouraging people to go into tree planting. In fact, actually, most times when we go to schools, we're trying to even see how we can support them to plant trees around the school environment. Trees, flowers, and other kind of vegetation. You know why? Now, I told you that one of the causes of climate change is carbon dioxide, right? Now, what does a tree or a flower does? When you have a tree or a flower, it tends to absorb carbon dioxide. It absorbs carbon dioxide and releases through a process known as photosynthesis. Releases oxygen. And that oxygen is what we humans take, right? Then, as the tree tries to absorb the carbon dioxide, it tends to balance the changes in the atmosphere. Are you following? It tends to balance the changes in the atmosphere. Now, those effects that has been caused by the release of those gases, it tends to balance it when we plant trees, when we plant flowers and all that. Are you with me? Now, because of how important this issue is, there's the United Nations and other countries usually, there's a program that is usually organized annually, where is organized by the United Nations, where they gather in almost all the countries to discuss on issues of climate change. And there's one that recently ended in United Arab Emirates. That one took place between November and December. And a lot of countries gathered, even Nigeria went, just to discuss on this issue. And one of the things that they came up with is that they want to move away from the use of fossil fuel to the use of renewable energy. How many of you know what renewable energy is? Renewable energy. Okay. Renewable energy are energies that are gotten from natural sources. Natural sources, right? Like the sun, you get solar energy from it. Like the wind, you get energy from the wind, from the water, you get energy from the water. So they are called renewable energy. And those energies are very clean, they are very cheap, and they are very sustainable. You understand? So that's one of the things that one of the things that that was reached in the conference that recently took place. And that conference, the one that took place last year, was they call it Conference of the Parties. And in abbreviation, they call it COP. But the one for last year was called for 28. Are you following? And now, another thing again they advocated for is the reduction in the reduction in companies that are actually emitting those carbons. Companies like the oil companies and all that, they ask them to cut down on their level of carbon emission. Are you with me? Are you following? So these are things, some of the remedies to this climate change. One is that for us to move away from the use of fossil fuel to renewable energy, another thing again is to plant trees, flowers and all that. It will help mitigate the effects. Another is also for companies that are emitting this carbon to cut down on their carbon emission. Are you following? So these are things that are actually happening now that is of great importance for we humans. So the reason why we go to school is that we try to create that awareness so that you are growing. You grow with the consciousness of and know what climate change is. You understand? And you also know what to do to mitigate that. I found one of the things we do most times in this part of the world that we do a lot of deforestation. You know what deforestation is? Cut down trees, we burn them. And those cutting down of trees, there are trees that are actually supposed to have absorbed those carbon dioxide. They will cut them down. And not only that, we cut them down. When we cut them down, we burn them. And they also release gases into the atmosphere as we burn them. You understand? Are you following? Yes. So these are some of our activities. So what we do is that we also encourage students. For some of the students that you know that you have in your home where you live, you have large compound. We encourage you to go there, ask your parents that you can plant a fruit tree. You understand? Like a mango tree is a fruit tree. Not only that gives you shade and gives balance the effects of climate change, you also can eat the fruit that comes out of it. You understand? We encourage your parents, let them plant fruit trees around. It will help to mitigate the effect. Are you with me? Yes. Now, have you been able to understand what I've explained so far? Huh? Yes. So if I ask you a question, you'll be able to answer. Huh? If I ask you a question, will you be able to answer? Yes. Okay, I need somebody that will come here and explain whatever I've said to you. Nobody can do that. Nobody can do that. So they want to come and read for all you read. Now, once someone that has voting, I don't need to read for you. That's why I said, you know, before I started, I made myself clear. I said, keep your ears open. Now, at the end of this, I will ask person, and the person, the person that gets it also will be rewarded.
The climate He's talking about climate change. Climate change is when the weather change from normal to into an abnormal condition. And then we should talk about also the global warming, which is also called the greenhouse. And that's when it's caused mostly by the human activities. When we burn fossils, it affects the ozone layer, which cause global warming because the gas will not be able to escape out of the ozone layer. So it still comes back to the earth and cause global warming, which causes droughts, flooding, and the rising of sea level and some other things. So and the yes and an example of the gas which escape the nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide, and some other ones. So she talked. What it said last was that the UN, that's the United Nations, they gathered. They want to stop the effect of this global warming. So they decided that that all this oil industry should cut down the level of how they release the carbon dioxide, and they should bring sources of the energies that they can renew, which are the solar, the windmill, and some other things.
That's a wonderful. In fact, he summarized the whole thing. The reason he was listening. And we also mentioned one of the things that we also mentioned, the way of mitigating difficulties, planting of trees, flowers, and everything. Right? So clap for him, clap for him. Okay, now Daniel, come. Now, because he has been able to summarize what you have said so far, we are going to pay his school fees. Then I will give you, now you're going to be rewarded, right? Then I also asked one or two questions. Okay, now, I gave you some things that I did while I was explaining. Because you usually like to demonstrate. So, I was talking about trees, planting of trees, flowers, and all that. And I said that trees and flowers, what they do is that they try to absorb carbon from the atmosphere, right? Through a process known as photosynthesis and release oxygen. Do you understand? So that's one of the things that these trees does and flowers. You understand? That's why actually what we do, we try to explain, we try to become more practical to everyone. So I'm also going to ask, what happens is that some other people also benefit from our comments. So I'll ask a question. And any question you answer, there's something for you. I'll ask a question, anything that you answer, there's something for you. So who can give me the definition of weather? you.